let's talk about manipulation versus effective relationship skills. So one comment or response or reaction I get a lot when I talk about relationship skills, communication skills, negotiation skills, changing how you show up in your relationship so that you can change the dynamic as a couple or start getting what you want from your partner, from your man. A comment that I get a lot is, that sounds like your manipulation. It sounds like you're being manipulative, right? And that kind of gets women's guards up, or it can throw you off. It can put a bad taste in your mouth. And I just want to clear the air today in terms of what is actually manipulation versus what I like to call positively influencing your partner or the relationship. Let's keep it at the relationship level. So I'll talk about both aspects, but really what we're talking about is influencing the dynamic here. And I just really want to set the record straight on that because, like I said, it's been coming up a lot. I've been seeing this in group chats that I'm seeing with, people sharing their challenges, and kind of when I come in and provide some guidance and advice, every now and then there's someone that pops up and sure enough says, that sounds like manipulation. Well, I respectfully disagree, and let's talk about that today, all right? So let's really look, first of all, at the definition of manipulation. What does it mean to be manipulative? So if you go on Google and type that in, one of the first definitions you'll see is from Wikipedia, right? And what comes up is, when it comes to manipulation, sure, you're trying to change something, right? You're almost trying to, you are essentially trying to control something or influence something, which is the word I use all the time. But what's happening here is it's usually in an underhanded or unfair way for your own personal gain. All right. And that is where there is the distinction here. It's all about the intent. When we're talking about influence, persuasion, manipulation, all right, the important part of it to remember is, what is the intent behind it? Sure. Right. If you're trying to hurt your partner in any way, or punish your partner, or harm him in whatever way, right? Because you're upset about something, or you're trying to get revenge, or, you're in all your emotions or whatnot, right? If there is a negative intent behind it, sure, then we can talk about manipulation. And then, yes, I would completely agree. But this isn't what we're talking about here, right? There is such thing as positively influencing, other people, or your partner in this case, right? Doing it in a way where everyone is happier, feeling more fulfilled in the relationship, where there is actually positive intent. Okay. And I use the word influence a lot of times, right? And another way to put it would be modeling. So I'll kind of use those two words interchangeably. So I'm always talking about positively influencing or modeling the behavior. And we want to do this. We're doing this with the intent when we're trying to fix the relationship, or get that honeymoon phase back, or really, rekindle the flame, or really start communicating better and openly with your partner, or arguing in a way where you guys, come to a consensus and it's productive and you understand each other more. We're doing this with positive intent. We're not doing this to harm one another, right? We're doing this for the benefit of the relationship as a whole. Because at the end of the day, your partner doesn't want to be defensive, right? He doesn't want to be stonewalling you. He doesn't want to be distancing himself. And if these things are happening, usually it's that there's an issue somewhere in the dynamic, and we can positively influence that, or we can start modeling the behaviors that we want to see, and showing up in these behaviors and using these words and actions that are going to change him or influence him or change the whole dynamic in the relationship. And what happens a lot of times is, I'll see women, they'll say, I've tried everything, or I've tried that, right? I tried speaking nicely to my partner and he still doesn't, he'll still get mad, or he'll still raise his voice or whatnot. A lot of times that is the choice of skills and techniques that we use. And that's a totally different subject here, right? Like if we're trying to positively influence using skills and techniques that aren't effective, obviously we're not going to get the results that we desire, and we're not going to see that positive change that we desire to see in the relationship and in with our partner, right? And maybe you've tried telling him these things that you want to see change, right? Or maybe your next option, you want to bring him to therapy so someone else can tell him what to do differently, right? Some sort of expert, someone beyond you. I want to ask this question to you though. Have you ever thought of trying to positively influence or model those behaviors? And one of the things I want to share today in this video that's important for you to remember is that there was actually research done on couples about this, right? So if you've ever read the book, The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work by John Gottman, one of his principles to making marriages work is being able to accept influence. Right. So again, he's not using the word manipulation here, but this is the whole idea that we are able to accept influence, accept a certain level of change or control from the other person. I hate the word control, but just in the sense of being able to attune to the other person and adapt and even just change our ways, right, to the benefit of the relationship. And being able to be okay with that. And like, granted, a lot of times, no offense to the men, if there are any men watching this today, but sometimes it is harder for the man to accept influence from the woman, right? I think times are changing. That's a lot different nowadays, and there's more receptivity to that. But definitely, this is like a researched concept in relationship. They've studied thousands of couples on this, right? And it's something that came to the forefront that successful, happy relationships, couples, marriages, they do tend to accept a certain level of influence from one another. All right. Now, don't go back to your partner after watching this, okay? Please, please, please don't go back and say, hey, I watched this video. Mireille Nicole was saying that, we have to accept influence. So you have to accept influence from me and do things that I want to do and say things the way I want you to say them. Please don't do that. I had a client actually who would go back, bless her, love her so much. And sometimes she would go back and say, you know what? I learned this and I understand it. You're excited. You want to go share it with your partner. Hey, this is what we have to do and things are going to get better. But just, don't do that. People don't like being told what to do for the most part. The whole premise of what I'm sharing today is that you can influence your partner without having to tell him necessarily. Now, I'm all about communication. I have a whole program on communication. My new program, Committed, has a whole module on communication. I'm not saying to not communicate directly and openly. We want to do that. But the most powerful way to influence positively is to show up and walk the walk, right? Not just talk the talk, but actually walk the walk. That is what's going to influence others and influence the dynamic in your relationship. So I say, really focus on who you're being more than telling, right? Just telling your partner. It's going to be way more impactful when you are actually embodying what you want to see, the change that you want to see in your relationship. All right. And the second concept I wanted to share with you guys today on this whole topic of manipulation and changing positively or influencing positively is I want to either introduce you to the concept of mirror neurons or remind you of the concept of mirror neurons. So we have specialized brain cells, all right, that are activated when you either perform an action or you observe an action in someone else, right? And these neurons in your brain, they're what help you understand someone else better and cause you to imitate or reciprocate. All right. So they're involved in things like empathy, bonding with your partner. All right. And learning, most importantly, all right, learning through observation and watching and seeing what your partner is doing. And this mirroring is what's going to influence the dynamic in your relationship and also emotional responses. So just a simple example I can share about this is like, think of when you see someone else smile, right? Like in most cases, if someone else smiles to you, you will smile back, right? Or if you see like a little baby or, smile at you, you're going to smile back. That's like your mirror neurons that are being activated. Or a more sophisticated example, again, thinking of babies, right, is how babies learn to walk. No one's teaching or telling, a baby how to learn to walk. You might help them a little bit, right? But they're observing, they're watching the environment around them. They're learning, they're taking action, they're stumbling, they're falling, they're getting back up again. They're watching again the environment, and eventually they learn, right? And it's going to be the same thing in your relationship too. So as you start applying effective relationship skills, you might stumble at first and you might learn these concepts. You try applying them. You kind of see and observe what's happening. Sometimes you'll trip, you'll fall. Other times it'll work. And it's like you're standing and you're getting back up. But it's the whole concept that there is like another way. And I think that's my main point today, and what I'm communicating through or sharing with you through my program Committed, which I just officially launched, officially dropped the branding for yesterday. But it's the whole premise that, I don't want you guys to think that I'm against couples therapy. I think it's awesome. It's great. Like I always say, 75% of my clients also do couples therapy or individual therapy. It's amazing. But I want you to know that there's also another way if that's not an option for you. And also there's a complementary way in case you're not, whatever support you're getting isn't very focusing so much on the mirror neurons. I want you to understand that there is another way and give you hope, right? That you can make a world of difference in terms of what's going on in your relationship just by applying the techniques in light of mirror neurons and remembering that concept, right? It's the whole idea, and I say this all the time, right? You have so much more power than you currently think. A lot of times we think, it's hopeless, our partner's, not involved, or they're resisting, there's nothing for us to do, I just need to intervene, I just need to get some sort of other expert to kind of knock some sense into him. But no, at the end of the day, sure, there are cases that are maybe hopeless, but for the most part, in the majority of cases, you can make such a huge difference, huge difference in your relationship by doing the mirror neuron work that exists, right? And do you know what? It's the whole idea of monkey see, monkey do, right? Kind of cringy of a term, I don't know how I feel about it, but it's that idea. It's like that saying, monkey see, monkey do. Don't use those words with your partner. All right. But it's that idea that is so powerful and that can make all the difference in the world in terms of your relationship and changing the dynamic. So I hope you receive this as the message of hope that is intended for you, and also opens your eyes to another way. Okay, another way that you can have your happily ever after, have that lasting love. And like I said, we're going to talk all about it in Committed. It's not just about, this concept of positively influencing. We do go in communication. We do go in how to manage conflict, how to be high value, how to be in your feminine energy, how, most importantly, to understand men too, because for you to be able to effectively leverage the mirror neurons in you and your partner's brains, you're going to have to understand these concepts too, because otherwise it's just not going to work. It all works together. And like I said, most importantly, if you want to be doing this in a way that's not manipulative and a way that is effective, then you're going to want to use the right approaches and techniques that are proven to make your relationship absolutely amazing. So if you have any questions about Committed, reach out to me, send me a DM, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.